Let me tell you something. Around that time, I read that Patrick Head was heard talking about steering power. You've heard that. While Senna crosses the line to start a new lap, in the Williams garage, Patrick Head was heard to say something about steering power. And I was wondering, why would he say such a thing? To whom was he talking? I mean, if there was a problem in the steering, how would you know? When Williams presented the telemetry, they said that the telemetry showed no problem about the steering. So if he was talking about steering power, this was not a conclusion drawn by the telemetry he had in front of him. So wouldn't that be that someone told him something, and that someone had to be Senna?
E aí, pessoal, tudo bem? Muitos de vocês pediram, então eu trouxe para vocês a tão aguardada entrevista com o Haris Topal, o youtuber que quem já assistiu meus vídeos com certeza já conhece ele ou o canal dele, e seus vídeos investigativos sobre a causa do acidente do Senna, que já mencionei tantas vezes aqui nos meus próprios vídeos. Como muita gente pediu por essa entrevista, eu fiz o convite para ele, que gentilmente aceitou. A entrevista foi feita no dia 18 de maio, mesmo dia que aconteceu o GP de Imola por coincidência. E acabou demorando para eu publicar esse vídeo porque foi uma entrevista em inglês e muito longa, e deu muito trabalho para legendar e editar o vídeo, porque eu acabo fazendo tudo sozinho. Mas aí está a entrevista. E espero que gostem, porque foi muito proveitosa. E se gostarem, deixem o like para me ajudar a lançar vídeos cada vez mais rápido. E aproveitando para passar só mais uns rápidos recados, nessa semana mesmo teremos novos vídeos aqui no canal, teremos também a primeira live exclusiva para membros, e na semana que vem teremos as partes finais dos vídeos com acervo completo de imagens do final de semana de Imola 94, exclusivo para membros do canal no nível Clube e Patrono Otimiza. E a todos que puderem ajudar se inscrevendo no clube de membros ou mesmo fazendo Pix, vocês estarão ajudando a fazer com que eu consiga bancar um editor para o canal, o que significa ter os vídeos saindo muito mais rápido. Então quero deixar meu muito obrigado a todos os membros do canal e convidarem todos que quiserem ajudar o canal Otimiza a crescer a se tornarem membros aí no botão Seja Membro ou então fazendo o Pix no QR Code que aparece aí na tela. Esse canal só existe por causa de todos vocês, então muito obrigado. Bom, vamos lá? Eu sou o Zuccherato e este é o canal Otimiza. First of all, I want to thank your presence here. It's a privilege for me because your work has been so much important for the community and for my own channel as well. I'd like you to have a few words for the people and to tell us a little more about yourself.
Okay. First, before we start, I appreciate for your invitation. I am happy to be here, and I really hope that the community will enjoy the conversation and perhaps learn something from it. My name is Haris. I'm from Greece, and I am an accountant and a teacher of economics. This is my profession. And apart from that, I am active in sports. As you may have noticed, I'm an amateur bodybuilder and martial artist, and I have competed in both. I could say that competing is in my blood, but someone else said it first.
Okay, so you have this degree in economics. This is your profession.
Yes.
You're also a bodybuilder.
Yes.
And how does it relate to your work with Ayrton Senna's crash analysis? Because it seems a little random that an economist, bodybuilder, starts making content investigating what happened with Ayrton Senna.
Yes, it does not relate, to be frank. It is a fact that I'm a fan of Formula One, generally speaking. I was also curious about this specific matter. The death of Ayrton Senna. Everything started back in 2004 it was the 10th anniversary of the death of Ayrton Senna, and I accidentally downloaded a video about the crash. It was the onboard video. Back then, things were much different than now. Today we have YouTube. It is a matter of searching, and everything is in front of you. In those days, you had to run applications like WinMX, etc. And you had to search for videos and hope that someone is online and he has a video. I don't know how and why. I realized that someone had the onboard crash of Ayrton Senna. I had no information about it at that time. I decided to download it.
But
And,
were
see
you
what happened.
familiar with Ayrton Senna?
Yes, I knew. Yes, obviously, I was watching Formula One races when I was a kid, and I knew the name, but I don't remember if I had watched a race when he was alive. For sure, when I downloaded the video, I knew what it was about, and what I remembered it was that it was ending prior to the impact. And I said to myself, okay, that's not really the video of the actual crash. It's the video prior to the crash. So my next move was to Google about it. And I had seen an article talking about the accident. And in the end, there was a question about what was the reason. Was it a mechanical failure? Was it a driver error? Was it a problem with the truck? And my question was, okay, it's 10 years since the accident and we still don't know. I mean, we're still discussing about possibilities. And then I decided to do a research about this. I was a student in 2004 and I had a lot of free time. And I remember downloading as much videos as possible, reading articles, spending some time in several forums. I mean, in those days there was no YouTube. Today, everyone has his own channel and creates his own content and has his followers. In those days, this was done in forums. I mean, there were forums about Formula One, and you had to post there your questions and do debates with others, etc.
Falamos
And I
like
did my
bulletin
research.
boards.
So my next move was to read the Ayrton Senna files. They were available in those days, and actually, I realized what happened. I saw that things were not clear. I mean, yes, you could say that there was a steering failure, but there were many alternative theories as well. And 1 year later, when 2005, I decided to post an article in a Greek website. And I said, okay, that's it. I'm not going to spend more time on this matter because I have done my part. I mean, I have watched the videos. I have read the Senna files and other articles. There is no point in reading the same things again.
But what did
This is
you
it.
write in that article?
It was a summary about the crash and what happened in during the trial. It was actually that article was written in 1st May 2005. It was the 11th anniversary, literally 1 year after I started researching the matter. And I decided to give it up because there was nothing more I could have done. There was no point in reading the same things again. I have reached my conclusions, and I said, okay, maybe one day someone will come forward and say that, okay, that's the truth. Or maybe one day we will have better means in order to make a more proper investigation. And I think 20 years later, we do have better means to do a better investigation. We have, for sure, we have much better software and hardware than Seneca had in 1997.
Just to make clear to the audience, Seneca is the institute in Italy that was responsible for providing the image for enhancing and processing the onboard footage. It was in 1997.
Yes, it was the biggest computing company in Italy at that time.
Yes. So they were the responsible to processing the images, the footage that all of us had access later, because
Yes,
there were the original footage and also the Seneca enhanced footage one where they synchronize the elements of the telemetry, right?
exactly. They did a very good job because if you see the original footage, I mean, in 2004 there was the original footage and the Seneca version. The original footage was a very poor quality video. You could see nothing, and it was extremely dark. You could not see anything inside the cockpit. But the Seneca version was very good compared to that. Of course, today we have even better footage. Okay.
Sure. But I believe the version you have used in your videos, the ones that enhanced the yellow button, I
Yes.
think the one who made that version was for the channel Imola 94 Research, right? I believe
Yes.
it was made to support the Tambolero book by Martin Sostak, which was released in 2014, I believe. Because these videos he made, his book is really very good about this matter. He made this footage and he analyzed it and he put the yellow button. I don't know how he made it, but he managed to track the position of the button. I believe this
Yes.
is the version you used in your own videos.
Yes. At some point, I had downloaded the video again, my new computer, and it happened that I tried to experiment with this in in an application. It is called Wondershare Filmora. It's about video editing, and it was completely accidental because I wanted to experiment in a random video about adding filters, etc. I happen to have another channel, and it has a completely different content, and I wanted to use a new application about creating content for that channel. And for some reason, I picked that video, and I started playing with filters, etc. And while editing the video, I realized that there is much movement in the cockpit, and I said, okay, let's see what's going on there. And I zoomed and started to checking frame by frame the video, and I said, okay, either something's very wrong here, or I need to do to take a better look. And my next move was to try to find the steering wheel of the FW16. And I realized there are two yellow buttons. And I said, okay, this is it. We see two yellow buttons in this video. We see two yellow buttons in a left turn move. And this means that when Senna loses the control of the car, he appears to turn to the left. Okay, we know that the car goes straight to the wall. But at that moment, it meant a lot because it was an attempt to turn to the left. The car goes straight. Okay. Also, the alternative theory that Senna tried to correctly oversteer goes out of the window because the steering wheel never turns to the right, turns to the left, you see? So I decided to save this video, and I tried to make a video of myself, which was very poor. I mean, the first video I made was of poor quality. I didn't use any voice. I only had the text and video saying that, okay, look, this is new information, and I hope that someone will notice it and make proper investigation. At that time, I didn't think that I will do that, but okay, things changed.
Yes, things changed. Uh, I am one of the people who have seen your video. It has inspired
Yes.
myself, and I use it in my own videos. Even mentioned you a lot in my a few of my videos, and I believe many people in Brazil who are uh, holding along with this investigation we are making are aware of your work now. They know about you because of my videos,
Okay.
and I know that you have translating some of your content in Portuguese because you have grown
Oh,
a
yes.
Brazilian audience as well. So, what do you think about this repercussion of your videos, especially with the Brazilian audience?
It is a fact that I have about 20% of my audience from Brazil. And for this purpose, I translated two of my videos in Portuguese. Okay, basically, I don't speak Portuguese. I use a translator, and I hope that the translation was accurate. Anyway, uh, I also appreciate the fact that you used my video and you mentioned me. Sorry, what was the question?
About what do you think that Brazilian people are coming to your channel now? Because you had no expectations at all. You thought that someone else would make the investigations, but now a lot of people came to your channel. It started to grow, and then you decided to make more content. What are your thoughts
Yes,
about that?
yes. Well, I understand that Ayrton Senna means a lot to Brazilian people, right? Uh, I had read a Greek article a few years ago, and it said that Brazilian people sit in front of their television in the weekends, and they are watching their idol. And their idol's the name has two syllables, and he is not Pele. So the article talks about Ayrton Senna. And that's a fact. Every weekend, people from Brazil sit in front of their televisions watching Senna winning, racing, okay, waving the Brazilian flag. But the sad truth is that one day they watched their idol getting killed, and he died because of other people's mistake. And I believe that people from Brazil really want to know what happened. So for me, it's no surprise that I have a large Brazilian community. When I started to realize that my videos are getting noticed, I felt that perhaps I should do more videos. When I created my first video, I didn't expect to have any support. I mean, I said to myself, okay, perhaps 2,000 people will watch it, or 3,000, or something like that. But pretty soon I realized that I have like 10,000 views per day. If you go in my channel, you will realize that my first video has almost 500,000 views.
Yes.
When I saw that, I decided that next year I will make another video. And it was triggered by a comment of a person who said to me that the steering column is made of steel, and steel doesn't break like a glass. It gets weaker over time until it fails. And I said to myself, if that's the case, perhaps I should look earlier to see if there was another case of flexing. So I started to check every onboard of Senna's car in previous sessions, and I concluded that the steering column flexes for first time in Aqua Minerale lap 6. That was 60 seconds prior to the Tamburello crash. Okay. So I made a second video and I uploaded it 1 year after my first video. And it had the support of the community as well. Last year I made my third video, and I realized that, okay, I made three videos so far. Why not continue? And that's it. I have a few videos right now.
Yeah, I've seen that your channel were not about this. You had a video about sim racing, other types of content. Yeah. I believe about economics as well, because it's in Greek. I don't speak Greek, but then I saw that your content became dedicated to this matter.
Yes, I created this channel in 2014. I had no purpose of creating any content. I just created the channel. And in 2020, when the pandemic started, I realized that we are going to stay in our homes for a very long time. And somehow we need to find a way not to get bored. And I created let's say, a cockpit in my home, and I spent a lot of time in sim racing for recreational purposes, okay? And I recorded some of it, and I uploaded some videos, not much success, okay? Then I recorded some videos about economics because that's my profession, not much success either. But I have to tell that in TikTok, my channel about economics was very successful. So I gave up YouTube until it was 2022, where I accidentally experimented with the onboard video in Wondershare Filmora. So I said, let's upload it in YouTube. It went well. So I realized that that's going to be my content. And that's how it went.
By accident. You said
I have to say that if we are talking here, if we are here, both of us, it's because of pure luck.
Yes, I agree. Because the same happened to me. Well, my channel also is not about that, but I know for talking about this subject.
Yeah.
I noticed that
Yes, of
your
course.
early channel videos were about sim racing, like you said. You had a cockpit, and I saw you even driven the FW16 at Imola in our factory too.
Yes.
Was that related to your experimenting or not?
Not at all. Not at all. Although I have to admit that when I tried to drive this car in Air Factor 2, I felt strange. I mean, okay, but coincidentally, it was in Imola as well.
Yes. Also, today was the day of the Imola Grand Prix, which Verstappen won.
Yes, yes, Verstappen won. And I have to say that this was not planned. I mean, I realized yesterday that tomorrow's interview is I mean, in the same date is the Imola Grand Prix. What a funny coincidence.
Yes. Also, in the last yesterday's qualifying session, Franco Colapinto had a crash in exactly the same spot as Senna. Even though now we have the chicane, his car crashed at about 10, 15 meters off the right spot where Senna hit.
Yes, they also say that Colapinto resembles Senna. I mean,
Yes.
he looks like him a little bit. Yeah. He looks like him, but of course, he's not. He doesn't have his style.
Yes, not yet. You have mentioned that you were involved in the community, in the forums about
Yes.
2004. That's more than 20
Yes.
years ago. And I
Yes, of
also
course.
use it to use a lot of those forums, some internationals, some Brazilians, but these topics were always hot back then and even
Yes.
today. The people are constantly talking about this. They are trying to understand what happened, although we know for sure what happened because of the trial, because of the prosecution, but many things are still unclear. We know that the steering wheel column broke because of the tests, the exams that the Italian Air Force conducted. Mauro Foglieri, they did the tests and they concluded that it broke by fatigue, metal fatigue. So we know this was the cause of the crash. But some other aspects of the crash are still a mystery, like why the footage is cut before the crash, the onboard footage. So that's why I think many people are still trying to looking for something. And I believe there's something more. You do believe as well. That's why we are here. That's why we are making these contents. And by each new video we release, the community gathers and helps to direct our actions. So they point new elements. Like you said, you were inspired by a comment about the quality of metal, how it breaks. This push you to analyze the video and to find Senna's reactions. And this was a new element to me. I have to admit, I didn't see in 30 years after the crash somebody analyzing Senna's reactions and the steering wheel reactions prior to the accident. Like you said about the Seneca video shows, I believe, about 10 seconds before, and it shows the yellow button moving, but we don't see the footage about 1 minute before. And you've showed this in your videos,
Yes.
which you used it from the Martin Sustak book, but you were the one who realized that Senna was looking to the steering wheel. He was not looking to the console, to other place. He was looking to the steering wheel, and for sure he felt something was wrong. So, what can you tell us about this aspect and how the communities work and did work for you back then?
Okay, you said a lot of things. I will try to give answer to everything. First of all, back in 2004, in every forum, there were topics about the Ayrton Senna crash. There were large debates. I mean, it was 10 years after the event. The death of Ayrton Senna was much more recent than now. And you could say that it was a hot topic, of course. As for the onboard footage, yes, we know that the video cuts about 1.5 seconds prior to the crash. So unfortunately, we don't know what happens during that time. The question is, did that footage ever exist? There are two possibilities. Either it never existed, or someone deleted it. If it never existed, that's the end of the discussion. Okay, but if it was deleted, if it was done on purpose, then those 1.5 seconds must have showed something very incriminating. You see what I mean? Recently, during my investigation, I happened to watch the Imola race from the Greek television. I found in YouTube the Greek version of that race. And luckily, it was broadcasted 2 weeks after the actual date. For some reason, they did not obtain the copyrights to show it live. It was shown 2 weeks later. And the journalist literally said that the lawyers have asked, they knew everything. Okay, it was 2 weeks later. Everything was known. It was not live. And the journalist said that the lawyers had asked for the onboard video in order for a proper investigation to be conducted. And then he said that the video does not show the crash itself, but the moments prior to the crash, which means that 2 weeks later, 2 weeks after the event, those 1.5 seconds did not exist. Okay, so if someone had edited this video, it must have been done very early, before any charges were brought. Okay, that's about the onboard footage. Now, as for my investigation, my first video was about the steering movement in Tamburello. Then it was the second video, and it was prompted by a community member who made a comment about the steering column failing over time. And then I realized that the first time that we can visually show that there was movement was in Aqua Minerale Lab 6. Then I thought that there is a distance of 60 seconds between Aqua Minerale Lab 6 and Tamburello. That's a lot of time. I mean, was the steering getting worse over time? And I decided to check that. That was my third video. And we could show that the steering was getting worse over time, because for the first 30 seconds, you could notice some trembling. But then the steering starts moving abnormally. I was putting marks so anyone can notice the movement on the steering wheel. And then I thought, okay, did Senna notice anything? So there had to be a fourth video in which I would try to find if Senna was doing something suspicious. And I realized that he was looking at his cockpit 3 times in the last 30 seconds. And I was wondering, is that normal? I decided to check other sessions as well, and I couldn't find any session that Senna was checking his cockpit so frequently. So in my mind, that was a sign that he realized that something was going on. But the thing is that the steering wheel showed abnormal movements during corners. And during corners, you are focused on driving. So Senna was checking his cockpit on straights, but you don't have much steering movement when driving on straight. Anyway, that was my fourth video. So
About this, I made some videos regarding this question about Senna's reactions, which was based on your video. And I believe this is one of the most asked questions I get in my comments, in my videos from the community. Many people are asking if Senna realized there was something wrong with the steering wheel. Why did he stop? Why didn't he do anything? And I have my perception about this, but before I'd like to ask you for what do you think it was going through his mind if he realized there was something wrong with the steering wheel, but he kept going. What is your vision about this?
I have to admit I'm receiving the same questions as well, because there's no way that a driver that realizes that something is wrong with his steering will not retire the car. Of course, we are talking about Ayrton Senna here. I mean, he was the kind of a driver that would not hesitate to crash against his opponent if he had to win. He wasn't the type of driver that would retire the car just in case. You see, he was not a cautious driver. He used to take risks. I don't believe that he didn't realize that something was wrong. I mean, you see him looking at his cockpit. In my video, I have a few questions about it. It is possible that he decided to see how serious the problem is. Let's not forget about the circumstances. It was a sixth lap of the Imola race. The first 5 laps were behind the safety car. He was driving for half a lap, and somehow in Acqua Minerale, the steering wheel starts moving. I mean, one possibility was that he realized that something was wrong and he decided to give it some time to see if the damage was critical. I consider the possibility that there was radio communication. I mean, it's very possible that he talked to his team about it. Officially, we know that there was no radio communication. But in my mind, it is a possibility that he asked for directions and he got feedback like, we're looking to it, okay, see how it goes and let us know. And the thing is that in the end, he did not have much time. I mean, the time between Rivazza and the accident in Tamburello was some 35 seconds.
And you brought a very important matter to this, which is the radio communication. Just before going to the radio, my personal opinion about this is he realized that there is something wrong with the steering wheel.
Yeah.
He realizes, he reacts, he has a reaction about this, which is to look, but it's not like the steering was failing. I mean, the column was starting to fail, but the steering wheel
Yes.
was responsive. He made all the turns
Yes.
like he wanted to do. It's not like he's trying to turn the car and the car is not responding to his commands. It is responding. It is responsive. But he realized that the columns is moving a little bit. It's not a lot, but it is moving in a not in a natural way. It's not like it's flexing. The column is flexing. A part of this is moving in a different axis.
Yeah.
So he realizes, but the car is still moving, so he's going. And like you said,
Yes.
he did not have any time to react at all because it was about 6 seconds since it started, and 35 seconds since his first reaction, and he's driving at 300 kilometers per hour. It's not like he has time to blink, time to think. He has Schumacher on his ass. He must win this race. He was under a lot of pressure because the other two races he didn't finish. He didn't score any points, and Schumacher won both of it. So the championship was compromised to him. So it was a lot
Let
of
me tell you
pressure for
something.
him. And
Let me tell you.
there were no time at all to react because, okay, the steering is working differently, is working abnormally, but my car is still turning. So he makes the variante bassa. He goes to the straight, and he's starting to make Tumblr. It's working, but then we see that the button moves a lot during the pressure he applies on the steering wheel on Tumblr, and the crash happens. So it's not like it was failing totally before that. It was starting to fail. He was starting to feel something strange about it, but he still had total control of the car until the Tamburello turn. So I believe this is why he kept running. He kept driving the car. And about the radio, I believe it's very likely that he talked to the team, but by the time it was very different than today, because today you have access to all the radios of all teams. If you subscribe the F1 Pro TV, you have access to all the radios. It's public, but by the time it was not public, you could not hear the radio conversations on TV unless it was directly released for the TV broadcast, like Senna's in Imola a few days ago. He was driving and talking to the French TV. Also, he saluted Prost in the first race in Brazil. He narrated a full lap for Global TV, but those are different circumstances. The
the radio communications with the team are private. No one has access to it. So if the investigations are asking if Senna is speaking or complaining about the steering wheel, it's up for the Williams team to say anything they wanted. They won't say, yes, he said, but then they won't have to show the recordings. But if they decide to say, no, he didn't say anything, they won't be investigated. They don't have to say it. So why would they incriminate themselves? Because if Senna's complaining in the radio that the steering wheel is acting abnormally, this is not the interest of Williams for the investigations to go. So I believe we don't know if Senna communicated with the team, but if he did, we will never know because the team will never allow this to go public.
That's a fact. You see, today we have access to every radio message. I mean, you are watching an F1 race, and you can see the radio messages in your screen. Back then, it was much different. Okay, let me try to answer everything that I have heard so far. First, as we mentioned before, the steering column was deteriorating literally every corner. I mean, by the entrance of Rivazza, you can see for first time the steering wheel flexing. By the entrance of Variante Bassa, which is next corner, the steering wheel is moving even more. And by the exit of Variante Bassa, you can see even more movement on that. And of course, by the entrance of Tamburello, you see vertical movement, which means that finally the steering column is failing. By failing, we don't mean that the steering column broke into two parts. I mean, the time that the car goes straight to the wall, the steering column is still connected, but it's connected about 30%. I mean, that's what the analysis says, because we know that from the Ayrton Senna trial. The steering column broke into two parts only after the impact. But at Tamburello, it was only connected about 30%, which was too weak for the steering wheel to transfer forces to the wheels. So the car practically could not turn, and that's why it exited the road. Up until that moment, although the steering column was damaged, Senna could turn around the car. The car was drivable. I mean, he set the fastest lap in lap 6, and it was one of the fastest laps in the entire weekend, the entire race, basically. I believe that also the damage on the steering column might have caused the car to be less responsive. I mean, apart from some trembling, it is possible that the damage on the steering wheel had influenced the drivability of the car. We can tell what we see. I mean, we see the steering wheel moving, okay, but Senna was holding that steering wheel. Have you ever wondered what he might have felt? Of course, he could have felt that the steering wheel was trembling, okay, but what else? I mean, I have seen a video of David Coulthard explaining the things about the car. He enters the cockpit, he installs the steering wheel, and he's showing things here and there. What I noticed is that there is very little space. I mean, the steering wheel is millimeters above the driver's legs. there are millimeters of space left and right between the steering wheel and the walls of the cockpit.
Also, it's not a wording
If
that,
the steering wheel,
but by the time the steering wheel was a complete wheel, different than today that we only have the sides. By the time we had the full sphere.
Yeah, it was. Yes, it was. Yeah, it was a normal steering wheel. There was so little space that, for sure, Senna might have felt his hands banging on the walls of the cockpit and the steering wheel banging on his legs. And of course, it's possible that this damage had influenced the drivability of the car. I mean, he might have felt that he had to take the turns slightly differently. Unfortunately, he died on the crash, and we don't have answers, but we can imagine. As for the possibility about any radio communication, okay, here you have to guess because we don't have concrete evidence. You see, for me, it's more possible that there was a radio communication than not to have a radio communication, because there is a lot of information there. You have steering column moving abnormally for a minute. You have the driver checking his cockpit 3 times. When he exits Variante Bassa, he takes the right turn and then he goes straight. By the exit of Variante Bassa until the start of the new lap, in Imola that year, there was a black patch in the asphalt. During that time, while Senna is driving, he is focused on his cockpit. And then suddenly, he turns his head to the right. I mean, if you check the onboard, you will see Senna looking at his cockpit, and then suddenly he turns his head to the right, completely to the right. And I said to myself, okay, perhaps he is checking his right mirror to see where is Schumacher. That was my first impression. But when I compared this to with the television camera, which was outside, I realized that Schumacher's car was behind and to the left. So Senna couldn't see Schumacher's car by looking his right mirror. He should have used his left mirror, but he looks to the right. Coincidentally, the Williams garage is there. And I was wondering, he is really focused looking at his cockpit. And suddenly he looks to the right. To the right is the Williams garage. I mean, was there any radio communication? Unfortunately, we will never know.
But it's.
I was wondering if there was a discussion at that time.
It's an interesting fact. Another one that you brought up that you could perceive on the image, because we are conjecturing, we are wondering things here, we are discussing, but we had 30 plus years to do this.
Mhm.
And many people are asking questions on why did Ayrton didn't stop the car when he had 30 seconds. We had 30 years, he had 30 seconds to react. But there are many things that we are still finding in those images. Like I said, back in the day, we didn't have the quality of the video to analyze that. Also, this is happening in a lot of more footage, not only of the crash, the onboard car, but also the broadcast cameras showing the rescue of Senna's. Like I've shown in my previous video, the Schumacher feature film on Netflix enhanced the image on Ayrton's face in a way that we could not see before back in the day. And now we have lots of new evidence based on old figures, on old images. And now we can see this with a new eyes, and we may start to wonder like this. Senna is looking to the right, is looking to the pits, is looking to the team. Maybe he's trying to communicate something. I don't know.
Let me
This is
tell
a
you
new
something.
information.
Let me tell you something. Around that time, I read that Patrick Head was here talking about steering power. I mean, you've heard that. While Senna crosses the line to start a new lap, in the Williams garage, Patrick Head was heard to say something about steering power. And I was wondering, why would he say such a thing? To whom was he talking? I mean, if there was a problem in the steering, how would he know? When Williams presented the telemetry, they said that the telemetry showed no problem about the steering. So if he was talking about steering power, I mean this was not a conclusion drawn by the telemetry he had in front of him. So wouldn't that be that someone told him something, and that someone had to be Senna?
We don't know that. We don't know if he was also referring to the power steering aid of the car that after Senna's crash, when he stopped his car in the pits, some mechanic was seen messing in the front of the car, allegedly turning off the power steering drive that it was illegal, but it was found that the Williams car had as well. We don't know it was about that,
Mhm.
but we don't have access to the radio conversations, but we know some of those things, and all that's left for us is to wonder what he was talking about. But it was a strange coincidence that a few minutes later, Senna crashed because of a steering wheel failure.
Yes, yes. I mean, it's a coincidence that seconds after Patrick Head was heard talking about steering power, Senna crashed. It's a coincidence. At the time, they didn't know the cause. They only knew that he crashed, right?
Right.
And during the crash, Patrick Head was heard shouting, "What happened to the steering?"
Yes. That they had a lots of strange coincidences. Even
Yes,
before the day, before the crash, like the night before, the events that happened in Senna's room with his brother, etc. And this is something I want to talk about to you. If you have
yes,
seen the Senna series from Netflix, which shows his life, his career until his crash, and I I realized something in this series that they decided to provide a more poetic way without straightforward showing some aspects of the crash, like this conversation he had with his brother in the night before the crash, when supposedly his brother showed a tape to him of his girlfriend by the time, talked to an ex-boyfriend, that chat upset him, upset Ayrton, and it was one of the reasons he was sad like he was before the race. Of course, alongside this death of Roland Ratzenberger. But this conversation, it was not shown in the TV series. Also, the TV series does not mention anything about the cause of the accident, but they show uh, Ayrton using some bandages over his fist because his hand was scraping in the cockpit. This was the actual reason why Senna asked the modification that the steering wheel column, but it was not shown that this was actually the cause of the accident. So the series are hinting at some information they are not showing directly. So what do you think about these questions over this series? Have you seen it?
Look, I haven't watched anything in Netflix for at least a year. I have seen part of the Ayrton Senna series. Is for the discussion that you mentioned with his brother. Well, I think that was a personal matter. I don't think that they wanted to focus on that. But as for the cause of the crash, I agree they are not straightforward. But I don't expect anyone to be straightforward about the cause of the crash. But I believe that these guys are trying to communicate us the truth in their own way. I mean, if you watch my videos, you will realize it is a sequence. Okay, the first video is about the tamburello, how the steering behaves. Then the second video is about when we notice the steering wheel flexing for first time. Then it is another video showing that it gets worse over time. Then it is another video showing that Senna realizes that something is wrong. I mean, you can say that this car speaks. This car was speaking to Senna for almost a minute. I watched the Tamburello incident in the Ayrton Senna series, and I remember the start of the sixth lap when Senna tries to be as fast as possible and pull away. Then he completes the sixth lap. He sets the fastest time, and he pushes the car even more. The commentator saying stuff like Senna tries to make his engine sound louder than Schumacher. And then they approach Tamburello, and suddenly the scene cuts, and we see Ayrton Senna as a kid with his father in a normal car, holding the steering wheel, and his father saying to him, "You are in control, but the car speaks to you." And I said to myself, okay, these guys are trying to say something to us in a very clever way. I believe they are trying to tell us the truth, but not straightforward. You see what I mean?
Yes, because they showed this moment right before the accident.
Exactly. And I think it's not coincidence, this scene. I mean, he's holding the steering wheel, he's saying these words.
So
For,
it's
for
like
someone who has the whole picture, for someone who has the whole picture, he realizes that, okay, the car is speaking to you, the car is telling you that there is a problem, you see? And there is a question, of course, if the car is speaking to you, why don't you retire? Why don't you stop the car? It's the same question that people are asking.
that's very interesting because the TV series it shows a lot of scenes which are so well portrayed. The racing scenes are so well made, but we know that everything, like the 2010 documentary feature about Senna, all the scripts have to be approved by Senna's family, and they
Okay.
won't allow many subjects to be spoken in these
Yes.
features. Like in their own documentary, they don't talk about the steering wheel column. You have a little more discussion about this in the cut interviews, but not in the feature which went for movie theaters. And there was like some discussion. Some people said, "I think the steering wheel broke." Reginaldo Leme said that. But also some people were saying, I think he tried to correct the car. The tires were cold, so they left room for discussion. Like it was open for discussion, and we know it's not. We know this is the Williams theory for their defense. It's not realistic, but since the family does not want to open this discussion again, I think the producers found a clever way to telling us about this. Like you said, this scene when he was a kid, his father saying, "The car is speaking to you," and then the crash happens. We don't see this steering wheel failing. It doesn't cover this information. It is saying the same thing in another way. So it's why it's like this information was censored. It was not allowed to go, but they found a bridge, a way to introduce this information in the series, to saying that the car was speaking to Ayrton, and he was the one who knew what happened, and maybe other people knew as well, but they are acting like they did not know.
Yes, they are trying to tell us what happened in a very clever way, but you need to have the whole picture. I mean, for those who understand, they are trying to give you the answer. And I don't think that they are the only one. I mean, I believe that generally speaking, people are trying to tell us the truth in their own way. One day I read an article of Damon Hill, and the title was that Senna died because of his own mistake. And I said to myself, okay, another article that says that Senna made the mistake in Tamburello and lost the car, etc. Well, if you think about it, when you see the videos and you ask yourself, okay, the car is speaking to you, why don't you retire the car? Why do you keep your foot flat instead of lifting and retiring the car? The truth is that, okay, yes, there was a badly executed modification, and even Adrian Newey said that the column would fail sooner or later. These are his words from his book. Okay, but it didn't have to end like this. I mean, steering failure for any other driver would mean another loss of 10 points. But the thing is that Senna, for many reasons, decided to keep pushing instead of lifting his foot. And this cost his life. And, suddenly a problem that would cost only 10 points, it will cost one retirement, costed the life of the driver. And now I'm going back to Damon Hill's article. And I remember the final paragraph saying that no one is to blame that he kept his foot flat when he should have lifted. These are Damon Hill's words. And I was wondering, why should he lift? Because the only reason that you lift your foot from the throttle is when you have to retire the car. But in order to retire the car, there must be a serious problem.
And also, we should not forget that Damon Hill was a witness. He testified for the Williams defense. He was Williams driver, and he was the major benefit by Senna's death. So it's not he wants this to be solved. He wants to uncover the truth. He was the one of the okay. He was not the jurors. He was not prosecuted directly, but he was the biggest benefited by person who was benefited by Senna's death, alongside Schumacher himself. And Adrian Newey as well. He was one of the people who were prosecuted. Frank Williams, Adrian Newey, Patrick Head. So, of course, they won't ever tell anything about this. Oh, Senna, he had no fault. The car was faulty, but still, we could think, why did he said that? Like you said yourself, it's like he's trying to put the blame on Senna, but he forgets that he's implying something. Why should he lift his feet? You see that it makes no sense for any driver. It should be a Ferrari driver, should be a Williams driver, should be a Lotus driver. Imagine a Williams driver. Imagine if Ayrton Senna, 3 times world champion. Why he should lift his feet when that turn? No one does that. And many people are asking, okay, but about the tire pressure. If Williams said that the tires were cold and the car went off because of that, why did it happen ever again with any other driver? Every single driver which has crashed over Tamburello, it was for mechanical reasons. It was for tire failure reasons. No one has lost control because
That's a fact.
After Senna's crash, okay, they were saying his tires were cold, so the car was scraping on the floor, and he lost the control of it. Why didn't it happen with Schumacher, with Hills, with Alesi, Berger, anyone else? All their tires were cold as well. Also, they were driving behind the safety car, but they were driving. Senna was waving his car to hit his tires. After Senna's crash, the race was restarted from the zero. From it didn't have the safety car, so the car's tires were even colder. Why didn't any other car went off? Why the Senna's was the only car who was subject to this failure?
That's a good question. I mean, cold tires should have been an issue for every car because all the cars were behind the safety car for 5 laps. Also, cold tires didn't prevent Senna setting the fastest lap in lap 6. Speaking of cold tires, I mean, okay, when you are not racing, tires lose their temperature. But when you start racing at full speed, the tires start to gain temperature, right? I mean, by lap 7, the friction must have caused the temperature of the tires to raise. I mean, for sure, in lap 7, Senna's tires must have been less cold than in lap 6, which means that if there was no issue in lap 6, why would there be any issue in lap 7? Of course, the answer was that Senna was driving much faster and he was taking a much more aggressive line in Tamburello. But I'm not so sure about it. I mean, one of my future videos will be about this subject because I want to compare onboards to see if in lap 7 he was closer to the apex than in other sessions because I believe he was taking the same line always.
We should not forget
different.
also that Senna has won the San Marino Grand Prix for 3 times already. He knew that track more than anyone else.
Yes, of course, but it is the fact that there were many asphalt patches in 1994 that didn't exist earlier. I mean, I have to accept that. There is another thing. In lap 6, Senna was faster in Tamburello than in lap 7. I mean, the entry speed in Tamburello in lap 7 was 307 kilometers per hour. But in lap 6, it was 313. I mean, for some reason, he was slower in lap 7, but he was flat out. I mean, if you see the telemetry, his foot was 100% in throttle, but still he was a little bit slower in lap 7. So he had better tires than lap 6. He had a slightly lower entry speed in Tamburello, but somehow he lost control in lap 7 instead of lap 6. I mean, that doesn't really make sense.
Also, he had less fuel, so his car should be faster. So if he is not
Yeah.
faster, it's because something in his driving is making him drive slower. The way he left the Valente Bassa because of the steering wheel.
This is why I started thinking that perhaps the problem on the steering column started to affect the drivability of the car, because if it did, that would be an explanation why he was 100% on his throttle, but still he lacked top speed. That would be an indication that something was affecting the speed of the car. But that's
Right.
a subject of a future video.
So you're telling us about like the new evidences that you haven't shown in your previous videos. Do you have any new videos
I
planned?
haven't I, I I I haven't even researched that. Look, my next video, it will be a remake of my first video, and I will add a few things. One of them is, let's say, a reply of one video of yours, because you mentioned something on the steering wheel frames before the video ends, and I will attempt to show what it is. And there is also going to be some other stuff at the end of the video. I expect it to be ready by early June, something like that, because I don't have much time available. Right now, I'm quite busy, too much work to do. And I have another video in my mind about the possibility of a radio communication. We don't have proof of this, but we have a lot of little things that perhaps they point to that direction. And I will try to expose all of them in a video. And in the end, everyone will draw his own conclusions.
That's great to know. So, uh, just for us to move towards the end of this conversation, do you know other creators, content creators, who discuss this topic? Uh, are there any you particularly like or consider a reference? Like we know Martin Sustek, which make the videos you use it, but you mentioned the communities, the forums. I don't know if there are any more people making this type of content that you like.
Yes. Yes, I've seen a few of them. I would like to mention Formula One girlfriend or something like this. She made a very impressive video with a lot of detail, and I think it's a big one, like more than 1 hour. I mean, very impressive work. I have contacted her once or twice, and yeah, I've also seen a few other videos from other people as well. But I remember the one from Formula One girlfriend. Very impressive work.
Yes, it's a very good
But
video.
of course, when you spend time in my channel, I I try not to tell the story again and again. I'm more focused on trying to find new things.
Of course. So, well, I believe this cover is Hello, Helgis. do you have anything else you want to tell us? Do you want to leave a message for the Brazilian audience who also follows this subject heavily?
Yes, of course. For me, it doesn't end here. I mean, I have 2 videos in my mind right now. I have more videos for the future. For example, the possibility that the drivability of the car was affected, some other stuff as well. And ultimately, my plan is one day to make a reconstruction of the accident, which is as close as possible to the truth. Now, as for the Brazilian people, well, I understand that it is a special matter for them because they lost their idol. And not only that, uh, Senna died under very strange circumstances. I mean, a day before the accident, another driver had died. And this means that the event should have been cancelled. Senna wouldn't have died, even with a steering column like that. I mean, that race shouldn't have started. When you see that, okay, we have a faulty modification. We have a track which has a lot of asphalt patches, and it was not suitable for a race. You have a death of another driver prior to that, which means that the race would never start. And many things went wrong that weekend. And then Senna died. And in the end, no one was held responsible. They told us that Senna was the one to be blamed. There are some people that say even if he didn't make a mistake, he knew the risk of driving in Formula One because fatality is part of the game. And they tell us that somehow we should be satisfied because due to Senna's death, we have safer cars now. Well, I don't think that's moral. I cannot support a system that requires human sacrifice in order to progress. You see what I mean? And I don't think that it is moral to say someone died because he knew the risks. I mean, traveling by airplane is risky as well. We know that from time to time there are going to be airplane crashes. Does that mean that I'm responsible for my death if I'm on an airplane and there is a plane crash? Of course not.
Of course. So, Haris, thank you very much for this conversation. It was
Okay.
very pleasant, and I believe we have some very useful insights as well. We are all looking forward to see your new videos, and I really want to interview you again later after we see what you have for us.
It's been my pleasure to be here, and I hope the community will enjoy this conversation. And I really hope that soon we will make a new one.
Yes, of course we will. And for the people who are seeing this interview right now, I'll have the Haris Topal channel linked in the video description. So you are all invited to know his channel and his work, and he has now videos in Portuguese as well.
You are most kind.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
E é isso, pessoal. Espero que tenham gostado dessa entrevista quanto eu gostei de fazê-la. Tanto o Haris quanto eu já temos vários vídeos prontos para sair, então provavelmente, muito em breve, iremos fazer outras entrevistas comentando sobre esses outros vídeos também. Então deixem seus comentários aí embaixo sobre o que acharam e o que gostariam de saber na próxima entrevista. E se gostaram do vídeo, deixa o like e se inscreve no canal, porque nos próximos dias já tem vídeo novo saindo. Quero, por fim, deixar um agradecimento muito especial para nosso membro patrono do canal, o Natércio Piva, e deixar o convite para todos que quiserem participar do crescimento desse canal, atuando como Natércio no clube de membros. Muito obrigado a todos vocês e até o próximo vídeo.